What if the map of North America changed overnight? Imagine waking up to find the US and Canada's borders completely redrawn. Today we're counting down the top 10 US states that could realistically join Canada, based on real economic, cultural, and political ties. As we go through this list, picture the ripple effects. Families, trade, and daily life transformed under a new flag. Could a US state actually become a Canadian province? The political hurdles are huge, but the connections are real. Grab your popcorn, let's dive into a North America you've never seen before. Number 10 is Vermont, a state with a rich and fascinating history of independence. It was once its own country, known as the Vermont Republic, before joining the United States. This unique past has shaped its identity and continues to influence its present. Vermont is renowned for its progressive politics and strong focus on community values. These often align more closely with Canadian ideals than with much of the rest of the United States. The state is a hub for progressive thought, with leaders like Bernie Sanders championing social justice and equality. The cultural connection to Quebec is undeniably strong. French place names dot the landscape, a testament to the shared heritage and history. Families often span the border, maintaining ties that have existed for generations, creating a unique blend of cultures. Economically, Vermont is deeply intertwined with Canada. The state relies heavily on trade with its northern neighbor, and many residents find employment with Canadian companies. This economic partnership is vital to Vermont's prosperity. For many Vermonters, the border is merely a nuisance, complicating an already integrated relationship. The daily crossings for work, family, and trade highlight the seamless connection between Vermont and Canada. Remove that barrier, and Vermont could easily become the Green Mountain Province. The scenic beauty of the Green Mountains would blend effortlessly with Quebec's landscapes, creating a unified region. Of all the states, Vermont's independent streak and deep northern ties make it a natural fit for such a transformation. Its cultural festivals often celebrate this unique connection, showcasing the shared traditions and values. It's a long shot, but if any state could do it, Vermont has the DNA. The spirit of independence and determination runs deep in its people, echoing the past and looking towards a future that embraces its northern ties. Number 9 is Maine, a state uniquely positioned at the northeastern tip of the United States, almost cradled by Canada on 3 sides. This geographic closeness has shaped Maine's identity for centuries, fostering deep cross-border ties that go far beyond simple geography. The border here isn't just a line on a map, it's a living connection, woven into the daily lives of people on both sides. Maine relies heavily on Hydro-Quebec for its electricity, with power lines stretching across forests and rivers, linking communities in both countries. For many Mainers, the border feels less like a barrier and more like a formality. Energy, resources, and even ideas flow freely back and forth, blurring the lines between nations. The state's economy is deeply intertwined with the Canadian Maritimes. Fishing fleets share the same waters, loggers cross borders for work, and tourists from both countries flock to Maine's rugged coastlines and pristine forests. These industries don't just support Maine, they connect it to a broader regional network that spans the border. Family ties here run deep. Generations of Mainers have moved back and forth across the border, marrying, working, and building lives that straddle 2 nations. For many, the border is simply a place to meet relatives, not a wall that divides. For these families, the idea of Maine joining Canada isn't just political, it's personal. It would mean reuniting with a larger cultural family, strengthening bonds that have existed for generations. Yet, Maine's independent spirit and geographic isolation have always set it apart from the rest of the U.S. The state's rugged landscapes and self-reliant communities have fostered a unique identity, one that values both connection and autonomy. If Maine were to become Canada's easternmost province, it could find new security and opportunity as part of a larger, familiar community. The move could bring economic stability, cultural reunification, and a renewed sense of belonging. The border may divide on paper, but in reality, it's the connections, familial, economic, and cultural, that truly unite Maine and its Canadian neighbors. For Maine, joining Canada could feel less like a departure and more like a homecoming, a return to the broader family it's always been a part of. Number 8 is New Hampshire, famous for its live, free or die motto and fierce independence. While its conservatism is uniquely American, the desire for local control could make Canada's provincial model appealing. Economic ties with Quebec are strong. trade and tourism flow steadily across the border. There's a shared New England Quebecois heritage in the north, and a love for the outdoors. For some, joining Canada could be a radical path to greater autonomy. New Hampshire is the wild card, less about culture, more about political calculation. Number 7 is Minnesota, often called South Canada for good reason. The accent, the hockey obsession, and the love for the outdoors all mirror life in Manitoba and Ontario. The Twin Cities and Winnipeg form a major economic hub, with seamless trade and shared industries. Family connections cross the border, making it common for Minnesotans to have relatives in Canada. The border is just a line. Daily life, business, and culture are already integrated. For Minnesota, joining Canada would simply formalize what's already happening. Of all the states, Minnesota's transition would be the smoothest. It already looks, sounds, and feels Canadian. The true North state could easily become a Canadian province. Number 6 is North Dakota, where life on the prairies mirrors Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Emergency services, agriculture, and energy industries are deeply integrated across the border. Farmers and oil workers face the same challenges and market conditions on both sides. The culture is one of hard work, self-reliance, and quiet community spirit, identical to their Canadian neighbors. For North Dakota, joining Canada would be a practical extension of reality. The partnership is already in place. Formalizing it just makes sense. Here, it's less what if and more why not. Number 5 is Montana, where the Rocky Mountains and cowboy culture stretch seamlessly into Alberta and British Columbia. The shared landscape and independent spirit create a distinct Rocky Mountain identity. The Waterton Glacier International Peace Park erases the border for conservation, a symbol of unity. Economically, ranching, tourism, and energy tie Montana to Alberta. The border is an administrative hassle for businesses, not a real barrier. Montana and Alberta are twins. Joining forces would create a powerful, new heartland. For Montana, joining Canada isn't about change. It's about recognizing a shared reality. The last best province would feel right at home in the north. Number 4 is Washington, the northern pillar of the Cascadia movement. Seattle and Vancouver form a cross-border mega-region, economically and culturally unified. Cascadia is more than a concept. It's a shared identity rooted in progressive politics and environmentalism. Tech, trade, and innovation flow freely between Washington and British Columbia. High-speed rail and joint environmental policies are constantly discussed. The Seattle-Vancouver corridor is a blueprint for a new kind of North American region. For Washington, joining Canada would fulfill the Cascadian vision. The Emerald Province is already halfway there. Number 3 is Oregon, the creative and rebellious heart of Cascadia. Oregon's countercultural identity and progressive politics align closely with Canadian values. Its economy is deeply integrated with Washington and British Columbia, forming a seamless Pacific Northwest trade corridor. Environmental leadership and a love for natural beauty unite Oregon with its northern neighbors. The idea of a borderless Cascadia is an economic and cultural dream for many Oregonians. Oregon would be the southern anchor of a new, green, and innovative region. Joining Canada would be the ultimate expression of its independent spirit. Number 2 is Alaska, the last frontier and geographically already part of the Canadian landmass. Alaska depends on Canada for access to the rest of the U.S. The Alaska Highway runs through British Columbia and the Yukon. The frontier spirit and lifestyle are shared with Canada's northern territories. Indigenous peoples' traditional lands cross the border, making it an artificial divide. For Alaska, joining Canada would simplify logistics and governance. It would unite a region already connected by culture and geography. On a map, it just makes sense. Alaska, as Canada's great land province, is a logical fit. Number 1 is Michigan, the U.S. state most deeply fused with Canada, both geographically and culturally. Michigan is uniquely positioned, surrounded by 4 of the 5 Great Lakes, and sharing an extensive border with the Canadian province of Ontario. This proximity has shaped its identity in ways that go far beyond simple geography. The Detroit-Windsor corridor is the busiest border crossing in North America, vital to both economies. Every day, thousands of commuters, tourists, and truckloads of goods flow seamlessly between the two countries, making this crossing a lifeline for trade and travel. The auto industry here is completely integrated. Parts cross the border multiple times before a car is finished. Factories in Michigan and Ontario depend on each other, with supply chains so intertwined that a disruption on one side instantly impacts the other. A shutdown on one side cripples the other. The industries are one. This deep economic partnership has created jobs, fostered innovation, and built a sense of shared purpose across the border. Culturally, Michigan and Southern Ontario share sports, vacations, and even accents. Families often have relatives on both sides, and it's common to spend weekends or holidays visiting friends across the river. The region's shared love for hockey, baseball, and summer getaways on the lakes further blurs the border. The Upper Peninsula's geography ties it more to Ontario than the rest of Michigan. Its forests, lakes, and small towns feel more Canadian than Midwestern, and many residents have close ties to communities just across the border. In many ways, Michigan and Ontario are already a single economic and cultural entity. The border is more a formality than a true divide, with daily life flowing naturally between the two. Joining Canada would simply formalize a reality that's existed for decades. It would recognize the deep connections that have grown over generations, making official what people here already feel in their daily lives. Michigan's destiny is already linked to the North. Its future prosperity, culture, and identity are tied to its Canadian neighbors, and the bonds only grow stronger with time. It would become, quite naturally, Canada's Great Lakes province, a place where borders fade and communities thrive together, united by water, history, and shared dreams. There you have it. 10 states with connections to Canada, deeper than most realize. These aren't just hypotheticals, they highlight real ties reshaping North America. Borders can be more symbolic than solid. Sometimes the lines in our minds matter more than those on a map. Which US state do you think would fit best in Canada? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this alternate North America, like, share, and subscribe for more what-if scenarios. Thanks for watching, we'll see you in the next video.